Good morning, everyone. This is a presentation of my PhD thesis entitled Nonlinear Frequency Division Multiplexing, Theoretical Aspects, Numerical Algorithm, and Experimental Demonstration. My name is Stella Civelli, and I pursued my PhD at the Scuola Superiore Sant'Anna at the TECIP Institute, and my PhD supervisor was Marco Secondini. As many of you know, optical fibers are responsible for carrying most of the global data traffic. And one of the main factors limiting the capacity of the current optical network is the kernel linearity. To meet the ever-increasing data rate demand and improve the performance of the optical network, in the past years, numerous linearity mitigation and compensation techniques have been proposed. For example, digital backpropagation. Furthermore, in the past years, a novel transmission schemes based on the nonlinear free transform has been proposed to master the nonlinearity of the fiber. This system is known as nonlinear frequency division multiplexing, which is the topic of my PhD thesis. So this is an outline of my presentation. I will now say a few words about the nonlinear free transform, and then I will focus on single polarization nonlinear frequency division multiplexing. Then I will briefly cover dual polarization NFDM system, and I will show the results obtained with an experimental demonstration of dual polarization NFDM, and I will finally draw my conclusion. So, what is the nonlinear free transform? The nonlinear free transform is a mathematical tool to solve some nonlinear partial differential equation, including the nonlinear Schrödinger equation and the Markov equation, which can be considered as a master model for the propagation of respectively single polarization and dual polarization signal in an optical fiber. The nonlinear free transform is more commonly known as inverse scattering transform in other fields like mathematics or physics. In a very simple words, the nonlinear free transform allows to transform the complex evolution in space of a signal in time here, which evolves accordingly, in this case, to the nonlinear Schrödinger equation. The nonlinear free transform allows to define a nonlinear spectrum on some nonlinear frequencies that evolves in a very simple and linear manner. So this is a sort of nonlinear analogous of the standard free transform, and it's a very powerful tool. So just to understand this importance, here we show the modulus of an optical signal as a function in time at different distances. This is the modulus of the linear spectrum in frequency, while here it is showing the modulus of the nonlinear spectrum on the nonlinear frequencies, which doesn't change. So nonlinear frequency division multiplexing are those schemes that encode information on the nonlinear spectrum. So let's now talk about this system, NFDM system. So in this figure, in this slide, is shown sketched a typical conventional NFDM system based on the nonlinear inverse synthesis modulation. So basically, the encoder and the detector operation are those of conventional linearly modulated systems, while at the transmitter we use a backward or inverse nonlinear free transform to recover the signal to be sent into the fiber, and at the receiver we use a forward or direct nonlinear free transform to recover the nonlinear spectrum on which the information was encoded. So this operation should be are performed numerically, and the implementation of low complexity algorithms for the backward and forward NFT is still an open research area. So basically, this system is just a sort of nonlinear analogous of standard OFDM, replacing the IFFT and FFT operations with the backward and forward nonlinear transform. What is important about NFDM is that the information is organized in bars. So this means that we send a number of information symbols NB separated by NZ guard symbols. These guard symbols do not carry any information. So to reduce the impact of guard symbols, we would like to increase at will the number of information symbols. To account for the impact of information and guard symbols, we have introduced this rate efficiency term, which so by increasing the NB information symbols, this will tend to 1. So here we show the performance obtained by simulations in terms of q squared as a function of the power for an FDM with a different number of information symbols per bars. This curve shows that the performance increases up to a certain level, to an optimal level, and then start decreasing. And this optimal point depends on the bars length. So the optimal point decreases as we increase the bars length, so as we increase the rate efficiency. This result is also obtained if we consider an AWGN channel rather than fiber link, and it is also supported by a theoretical analysis by a group from Assume University. So if we take the optimal point of all this curve, we can obtain the optimal Q factor Q versus rate efficiency for nonlinear inverse synthesis NFDM with the red line. So basically we can have either good performance at a very low rate efficiency or higher rate efficiency but with bad performance. And in particular, this is in contrast with what happens for conventional linear systems employing, for example, digital backpropagation or electronic digital compensation with which whose performance saturates at a certain level. So this is a significant limitation of NFDM systems with respect to conventional systems, and we attributed this decay to a detrimental signal-noise interaction that takes place when computing the forward NFD at the receiver. Indeed, this is not due to the signal-noise interaction during propagation, because it happens also if we consider an AWGN channel rather than the fiber channel. Indeed, even if we consider an AWGN channel, the noise in the nonlinear spectrum when decisions are taken is not anymore an AWGN noise, because it depends on the nonlinear spectrum itself. So the detection strategies that are commonly used here have been inherited from conventional systems and are based on the minimization of Euclidean distances. So this detection was optimized for an AWGN channel, but it is highly suboptimal in our case because the noise is not anymore AWGN, because we have a nonlinear operation in between. So, for example, an optimal detection strategy could be to avoid this forward NFT operation and detect the symbols in time domain, assuming that the noise is AWGN. This could be done, for example, comparing the received signal with all the possible received waveforms. So this is impracticable from a computational point of view. So we have proposed some improved but suboptimal detection strategies, which are the iterative forward NFT, decision feedback forward NFT, and decision feedback backward NFT operation. Regarding the last one, it is sketched here, and this detection detects symbols in time, so we do not perform any forward NFT at the receiver. And basically, assuming, for example, that we have already decided the first four symbols, x1, x2, x3, and x4. We decide the fifth symbols by digitally computing all the possible waveforms, changing the fifth symbols, and deciding the symbols that provide the waveforms, which is more close to the received waveform, which is the blue line in this case. This is possible thanks to a powerful property of the linear free transform, which we call causality property. The performance of our improved detection are shown here in green, orange, and blue, and are compared with the standard conventional forward NFT detection with red. So both the three strategies provide some improvements, and in particular the distinct with the backward NFT detection provides approximately a 60 gain in Q factor squared. So this is a huge gain, which however it is still doesn't make an FDM comparable with the simple linearly modulated system using electronic dispersion compensation. So overall, the conclusion of this part of my talk is that we have highlighted that there is a detrimental signal-noise interaction that takes place at the receiver, which is due to the fact that a highly suboptimal detection strategy is considered. Indeed, by using detection strategies tailored to the fact that we are using some nonlinear free transform operation, we can significantly improve the performance of an FDM. Still, the detection that we propose are not optimal. So further improvements are expected. Overall, the full potential of an FDM has not yet been revealed. Furthermore, in the end of the presentation, I will say a few words about what can be done at the transmitter, because this part was mainly focused on the detection strategies at the receiver. So now I want to say a few words about dual polarization and FDM. This was a collaboration with Houston University. And basically the idea is that not only the linear Schrödinger equation, but also the Markov equation is integrable with the NFT. Markov equation that can assume this master model for the propagation of a dual polarization signal in optical fiber. So basically the concept of an FDM can be extended to account for both signal polarization using a backward NFT and a forward NFT associated with Markov equation at the transmitter and at the receiver. Furthermore, we can also consider a reduced complexity system, which is not exact but introduces some deterministic mismatch. The performance obtained by simulations are shown here. Basically, the dual polarization signal provides some improvement with respect to heat efficiency, with respect to the single polarization systems, and the dual polarization system with reduced complexity can also provide some additional gain for the efficiency higher than 7% over the standard dual polarization one. However, I want to underline that in this case we have considered just a standard NFDM, so the conventional forward NFT detection. So the overall figure may significantly change if we consider improved detection strategies. Finally, I want to say some words about an experimental demonstration of dual polarization NFDM, which was a collaboration with the Technical University of Denmark. This was the first experimental demonstration of an NFDM system exploiting all the degrees of freedom of single mode fiber, so both polarization and both the discrete and the continuous nonlinear spectrum. Basically, the continuous spectrum contained 16 QPSK 10 gigabit symbols with mass modulation, while the dice spectrum was made of two eigenvalues with two base case symbols with beam modulation. So here is shown the beta rate as a function of the launch power at different distances, and here we have the minimum beta rate versus distance. So overall, a total net line rate of 8.4 gigabit per second is demonstrated at transmission distance of 3,200 kilometers. To conclude, so an FDM has been proposed as a pioneer in novel transmission schemes to outperform a conventional system by mastering the nonlinearity of the optical fiber. My PhD thesis showed that there are significant limitations of current NFDM systems, and indeed tailored detection strategies can significantly improve NFDM. Then we have extended some of the main results to dual-polarization NFDM systems, and we have also provided a reduced complexity system that can be beneficial under some circumstances. Finally, we have shown the results obtained with the first experimental demonstration of dual-polarization NFDM, encoding information on both the continuous and the discrete spectrum. Overall, I would say that the full potential of NFDM has not yet been revealed, and it is not clear yet whether NFDM can outperform conventional systems. Before concluding my presentation, I just want to add a few words. We have we have obtained some additional results which were presented this year at the OFC conference, and another results which will be soon submitted for publication to the Journal of Lightweight Technologies. Basically, we have shown that not all the receiver operation, but also the transmitter operation can be improved. Indeed, mass modulation is not optimal for NFDM, but the system becomes oversensitive to noise when we increase the power. So indeed, with a very simple tilt strategies applied to the transmitter, the performance of the NFDM can be further improved. So there is a lot of space for improvement and optimization, both at the transmitter and at the receiver. So to conclude, I would like to thank all the people that have worked with me during my PhD, and in particular Marco Secondini, which was my supervisor. And of course, I am extremely grateful and honored to receive these awards, and I would like to thank the Associazione GTTI for this. Thank you very much. Please feel free to contact me if you have any questions. You may also find my PhD thesis online if you wish. Thank you. Goodbye.